Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report online, Leicester. And thank you for joining us for our latest guest special live. On tonight's show, we'll take a closer look at Rob Edwards, talk about some nostalgia, probably from 2003, take some of your questions. Also, to help me guide through the proceedings, as always, I'm co-piloted by Mark Knock. And of course, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome former Wolves and England under-21 goalkeeper, Mr. Matt Murray. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
So we want to have a deep dive and find out a little bit more about Rob Edwards, and who better to speak to than one of his close friends. Matt, take us back to where it all began and how you met Rob and how he's one of your friends now.
Yeah, it's mad, and I can't believe that I was at his daughter Lexi's 21st birthday party on March. Well, it was March the 7th. So the game was, I think Rob played on the game was on the Friday night. The next day, I think Liverpool in the FA Cup. It was the next day we had a party, but that would meant just over 21 years ago is when I met Rob, because his wife Kerry was pregnant. He just signed for Wolves, had done the medical. He saw him around a bit, but where we really hit it off was there was a barbecue organised by the club at Cannon Hill Park. I think it was it Cannon. No, one of the parks not too far from Wolverhampton. You know, on the way out to Telford, on the way out to Newport. There's a big park anyway there, and we had like a barbecue there organised by the club. Kerry came, she was pregnant. My wife Chloe, at the time she was my wife, Chloe, she was pregnant as well. And then we just all got on great, and just friendships hit off. Loads of the lads I still speak to from my times at Wolves. Me, Rob and Lee Nail have just been together today, but there's certain ones that you stay closer to. And Rob and I just got closer and closer, holidays together, everything else. And he's godfather to two of my kids, and I was an usher at his wedding. We are super tight.
Wow, Nocky, we have certainly picked the right guy to come on and talk about Rob Edwards. Massive reveal on tonight's show. When you first met Rob, was he one of those players that sort of struck you as someone that was always going to be a coach and a manager? Was he that kind of guy, or was it a bit of a surprise?
I think what struck you straight away is he always gave everything, and everybody loved him. And he was one of those people that everyone gravitated to, whether he played right back, left back, centre half. He just gave everything. No matter what it was, he was fully committed, always wanted to win in training, gave 100%. Was an amazing person. And then I had to retire through injury, and Rob went to Blackpool with Paul Ince to trial. Ince rang me a few days before that trip and said his goalkeeper coach had left. Would I come away? I said, Ince, love you to bits. You're our captain, blah, blah, blah. I've just doing my coaching badges. It was Matt Gilks, was the first team goalkeeper. And I said, I'll come away, sort my flights, put me in an apartment, I'll come away. So me and Rob went over. I was taking the keepers. Rob was trialing. Jolien used to come and train with us because he wasn't in a club at the time. Alex Ray was the assistant, making me
put the band back together.
Honestly, it was like that. Alex Ray taking penalties against me after training all the time and shouting McCoist like he used to when we were young and playing and shoot at us. And Rob just couldn't get back, and his hip wasn't right, and he had his third child on the way late, and all these things. And that's what people don't see. And it's a daunting time when suddenly you're out of contract, you don't trust your body, and what's he going to do? So Wolves were amazing. Wolves said to us that we could go in. I was doing my badges. Rob was thinking about trying that. And there's a guy called Mick Housel, and he was there at Wolves, and he said we could go in and coach. So we'd coach for free. And then Rob then would get in his car and drive all the way to Man City and coach for free.
Wow.
Just to learn. And this was a long time ago. And that is when I thought, you're top. You are going to go far, because we're all doing our badges. And on some of my coaching badges were some of the biggest names you've seen in the game. I mean, massive names, Premier League greats. But it's different when they're given a whistle. Rob's sessions just flowed. He was brilliant. And I always remember one of those sessions had a young Morgan Gibbs-White in. And me and him walked off and went, that kid's going to be special as well. So you have moments like that. So as a player, did I know Rob was going to be a coach? I wasn't sure. Was Robbie Keane going to be a coach? Was Keith Andrews going to be a coach? But when I saw Rob in that time of retirement, that's when I thought, you've got a right chance.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. And some of the names you mentioned there as well, Keith Andrews, Robbie Keane, it's quite a select, Rob Edwards, that close knit of people all going off to do what they're doing now. I don't know if that speaks volumes of the group or the talent. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But you talk about then giving up his time because he wants to do it. What drives Rob Edwards? I mean, we see he's a passionate and we see that he's an emotional guy. But what drives him?
That'd be something you have to ask him. But I think a lot of this is just my take on it. Some of it is he was a dad at 22. I was a dad at 23. Jolien was a dad at 22. You know, all of us, when you become parents, they become your priority. So then you realize that football gives you a great opportunity. When we used to go on holiday together, Rob and I would be up every morning, go to the gym, smash the gym. We had great people around us who would allow us to do it. Come back, love being the kids. But Rob is one of the biggest family men you could ever meet. You know, he's got amazing parents, raised in Telford. He's got an amazing wife in Kerry who's been with him, as I say, right from back in the day. His kids are stunning. Like, if you look at a family, he's as perfect as they get. But when the hard times have been there, they were there. Okay, so when you don't trust your body and you've got to go and coach for free at Wolves and Man City, Kerry was amazing. You know, those sort of things. So that unit around him. But I suppose he's just always, as I say, been a committed. He's been a winner. But again, you'd have to have Rob. But I don't feel it's not money that motivates him, because I know he felt that Wolves was the best opportunity over City, even though City probably would have paid him more. You know, he looked at the pathways, he looked at the jobs. He took Forest Green, all those things. He's taken a risk, and I think he just had to scratch that itch, and now he's doing it. And if you ask him, I'm pretty sure. And when he was having the hard times at Luton, I think he was playing to see it's difficult, but he puts himself out there. He does it, but he loves creating. I just think he loves creating a culture. He loves making people better. Of course, it is providing a lovely life for his family, but that wasn't the motivator. If he'd have still stayed at the FA and doing his thing, or Wolves under 21s, then they'd have still loved him the same. But he's doing what he's doing. He's amazing. But I feel that, and he said it in the press, this was the job. Honestly, like when we were coaching at Wolves for free, if someone had said you're going to be Wolves first team manager, that was the one. That was the pinnacle. And let's see where he goes from now. But I think he's doing a great job. I think he's a fantastic human being. And I'm sure that anybody who's ever played with him, played under him, been in his coaching staff, before they talk about anything else, I think he's a good tactician. But they say he's one of the best human beings you could wish to meet.
I mean, that sounds great. What one of the things, though, in terms of driving Rob, what I asked, obviously, because of the experience at Middlesbrough. Now, Rob has got a lot of stick. I don't know how much he sees the media. He says he doesn't watch a lot, but I'm sure he has a little peek. He had a particular sort of, Simon Jordan had a pretty dug him out massively on TalkSport, but that's the media, the clicks, the likes. I understand that. But if you've put it the way you have, like in terms of you've got a relationship with all these players that you played with like 25, 30 years ago, and that's the club he's played for the most. I guess it was quite an emotional move for him as well, because obviously Premier League managers are paid well, and it's not all about that. But that's quite an emotional move to take as well.
Yeah, but Simon Jordan, by the way, he backs up opinion, he gives his opinion. Okay, and that's what Simon does. And to be fair, if you want to have a pop back at him, he'll take it. But he's not personal, it's just his opinion. And that's what he does. I understand why Middlesbrough fans were so hurt. I don't get why the rest of the football world was so hurt. You know, when your boy who's gone into West Brom and Ramsey and left already, where's all the outcry there? He's been sacked after 10 games. So what's the difference in leaving after 10 games? What about your boy who moved all his family over from America and went to Celtic and gets hounded out? So why, when Rob Edwards goes to Watford and after 11 games and he's doing fine and not in a better position, does he get sacked and it's cool? So this is the world we live in now, that people do what they want to do. Very rarely, if we look at the Wolves team now, how many of them, Matt Doherty's on his second time round, but not many of them have been there for 3, 4, 5 years. It's not like that anymore. The lads I was there with, Lee Naylor, Jolien, Rob, we all did a lot. I myself, we played for a long time. Jody Craddock, that doesn't happen anymore. That's not the modern game. So, end of the day, Wolves came calling. Of course, it wasn't ideal. It wasn't an ideal scenario. 100% Rob didn't want to know about the press because as one of his best mates, if he started to think, oh, I talk about it, he shut you down. He didn't want to know about it. Okay? He wanted to make his own decisions going into Wolves once he'd been given permission to speak. He went in there and he's proved right that he believes he can start getting his club turning around, the club that he loves. Whereas, and by the way, Middlesbrough go up, that would be brilliant. No problem. Do you know what I mean? He started a great job there. There are some fantastic people at Middlesbrough, some great, great people. But football, you have to make decisions for yourself at the right time. And it's not like, and this is not talking about Rob, this is any, if a player goes and does really, really well, gets bought for, comes in for free, and then does really well, and someone goes and buys him, that's great business. And it's the same with a manager. If you get a manager that's free, if you like, and then a Premier League team comes and takes him, and he's left you top of the league as well, that's good business. So that's what you have to do. But it's a special, special club to him. It's a special club to me. And I think there'd be a few players that I've named there, Robbie Keane, Jolien, if any of them were in a managerial position and they could go to Wolves, I think you'd take wild horses to stop them because certain clubs are special to you.
Yeah, I mean, particularly Robbie, he was as well starting off that debut at Norwich, the 2 goals there, absolutely incredible. But it is an emotional one, and I think, as you mentioned then as well, Matt, in terms of the playing side, and even more so the managerial side, careers are so short. Like as you've mentioned, the 2 managers, then they go on short spells, 10 games sacked, gone, damage reputation. Yeah, they've been paid off, but people want to manage, and it's not all, like I said, it's not all about the cash; it's about progressing.
You talk about this getting paid off, though. Loads of managers get paid off in different ways. So if you're Jose Mourinho and you're going in, then I imagine your pay up is a lot better than Eric Ramsey, who's been seen as a bit of a punt. So there's big gambles. There's some managers you'll never see again. They leave good jobs, come over, and it damages them. It's not like a playing contract. Very few managers, sign a 3-year contract and you still get paid for 3 years. If you, like, I think you saw with Raheem Sterling, as long as he doesn't do anything wrong, then he would have been getting paid his contract by Chelsea. It doesn't happen like that with managers. It's not the same. So you see all these managers always sacked and paid up. You don't know what his pay up is. You don't know what that is. So, and the risks they've taken. But also, again, this is just my opinion. If Wolves were 8th, whatever, 6th in the Premier League at the time, someone comes in, pays 10 million for Vitor Pereira, I'm not sure Rob gets a job. I think maybe somebody with a more not a household, Rob's a big name, but like a real big Premier League or foreign manager.
More Premier League experienced person, that's fair.
Yeah, someone like that might look at it. Whereas with Wolves where they were, then there was only going to be a certain sort of manager they were going to go for. And somebody that absolutely loves the club, someone who's proven that they can take Luton out of the Championship, put Middlesbrough top of the Championship, knows the club, knows loads of people there, then I think it's a very good appointment from Wolves. I think that he's got them running, he's got them working hard. You can see the passion. It's a real shame that we feel like we're running out of games, and it took a few games to get us to where we are. But I think that there were only going to be certain scenarios that Rob was going to get this opportunity. That's just my opinion. Again, it's just, this is me not speaking as mate. This is just me speaking if I was doing my pundit work now.
Well, you'd probably do it yourself as well, wouldn't you? If it was your opportunity, and obviously you love Wolves, Nocky loves Wolves, I love Wolves. If you're in that situation, regardless of where you are, and the club that you love and you started at comes calling, regardless of who you are, that's hard to turn down, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is if an approach comes in and you are allowed to speak to the club, then you speak, you hear it out, and if you think that's something you can do, there'd be certain clubs as a manager sometimes, and this is not just any manager, or when you're a player, it's the same when you're a player. You sometimes get, and it can work in all different ways. There's times as a player where people ring you, ring the club, and the club go, "Oh, giving you permission to speak to them." You go, "I don't want to go." No. Who giving you permission?
Does that happen quite a lot? Does that happen quite a lot then?
Yeah, there's loads of times. If you speak to certain players, like when Mark Kennedy came to Wolves, that's because Man City said, "We've agreed a deal. You're going."
What a player.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But you're off. Oh yeah, but I'm happy. No, 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 no. We've agreed a deal. You go, and if you, who was it? I think I do my nights, don't I? And there was one of the players was saying that he'd just been basically told by Wolves, yeah, that that
Connor
we've
Cody.
agreed. Well, coach, I think, yeah, like again, his future was true, but no, I think it might have been like Ewan Roberts or somebody like that. The club had just agreed a price, and he was off, and that was it. So if you, so it's not always. It feels like when clubs don't want a player or fans don't want a player, then or a manager, then do you know what I mean? It's fine that way. But there's times when people, as I say, they feel it's right for them to go and explore, but they're protected by the buyouts, by the clauses. But also, there's times when players or whatever do get permission to speak, and they say, "No, I don't want to go." But you know, it's a bit complicated. I'm waffling a little bit here, but end of the day, he got given the opportunity to speak to them. He felt it was the right thing for him, and he is where he is now. And I don't think he regrets it. Of course, the scenario wasn't ideal. There's some people at a very, very good club, as I say, that have been hurt, but they're fine. They're fine. They're flying. They're fine. And but I still don't get the uproar by the rest of the football world.
It's clicks though, isn't it,
Middlesbrough,
Matt? That's why, because it's a Premier League. It's a Premier League club that's likely to get relegated, and then you're leaving a team that's likely to get promoted. It's an easy click, isn't it? It's an easy talking point. And I'd probably be a bit miffed if I was a Middlesbrough fan. But in terms of national media, I kind of get, because it's an easy story, isn't it? It riles people up, and then people have an opinion.
yeah, national media, but all the fans and all the memes and all the stuff. But as I say, and the other bit is, it will Middlesbrough might go up. It's a very, very difficult league. Ipswich is still on the charge. Um, you know, this is still a Wolves work. You know, at this moment in time, we're a Premier League club. He's got that opportunity. Middlesbrough before I thought were doing well under Michael Carrick, and they sold Latte Laugh. You know, so those things can happen as well. But at the end of the day, Rob made his decision. It's his life. We live in a, a country where you can, it's free, you know, you're free to do those certain things with the contracts and the laws, and he's done what he's done. But yeah, as I say, I'm just fully behind him, and I think a lot of the Wolves fans feel that there's a positive feel around the club despite our position in the league.
I think
Yeah,
having a manager who's wants to be here, for me as a fan, is massive. I mean, you always suspect that when you come to a club in our position, everyone's maybe looking for that next step, maybe a little bit of a stepping stone. And as fans, you don't really want to believe that because it's your football club. You don't feel like anyone else is bigger. But to have a manager come in who seems to want to be here and has got roots in the area and has got roots back to the club, for me, that's absolutely massive. To have someone who's desperate for us to do well, it's just really important for me.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's what it was. I was at Fulham away, and by the way, when Vitor Pereira first came in, and I thought Gary O'Neill had them. You know, when Gary came in, difficult circumstances. Vitor Pereira came in, watched that game on Boxing Day and against Man United, and the free kick that had gone straight corner, sorry, from Cunha that went straight in. But what noticed, I thought the running. When I went to Fulham away and I commentated on that, I was like, we're not running. We're not running. We're not working. What has happened? Yes, I think the recruitment had been poor, but it looked like, apart from, you know, there weren't many players, as I say, who were leaving it all out there. And it just felt that disconnect from the fans and the club and all these things. And I think that needed to happen. And another reason that needed to happen is when we went down under, do you remember when Mick went? TC took over. Then we went down, and Stoller Solback and Steen Saunders. It just spiraled. It was like, you know what I mean? It was like the disconnect was there. I will use the word. It was toxic. I can remember someone being on the pitch and smashing the dugout through. Do you remember? Like
yeah.
a fan. It
When
was,
when everyone was on the pitch at the end of the game, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then Kenny Jackett for me is the one that connected it all. You know,
Yeah.
got that. And
Massively
then,
underrated, Kenner. He brought us back
yeah,
together. Fantastic. I mean, he had some great players, but he did a fantastic job.
he did have some great players, but he also had some players that did the League One job, and then went on, and then obviously certain people like Matt Doherty and that who just right through the leagues, but he connected with the fans. He made them go around the museum, and you felt that like, I'm sorry, made the players go around the museum to let them feel what this club was about. And again, you've touched on it there, Knock. You know, this isn't a stepping stone. This is this is a special, special club with a massive fan base, with a great history. I felt Mick McCarthy really created that. Honestly, the amount of times Mick used to talk to us and the culture, and I will keep going back about that word, that culture that Mick McCarthy created. And I think Rob will look at, Rob's his own man, but you look at managers you played under and the way Mick, like I know Rob's gone around all the offices and spoken to people and introduced himself. That's what Mick McCarthy would do. I remember we wanted to train and Mick wanted us on the grass and there is snow all over Compton. And we're in the gym doing our thing and thinking, you're probably young lads and you don't really realise you're a little bit, maybe entitled might be the word. Next thing and your groundsmen are shoving away thinking, why can't they just train in the dome? But the gaffer wanted everyone on the grass. Next thing you see Mick McCarthy walking out with a tray of tea and coffee and biscuits and he gets a shovel and he starts, do you know what I mean? Straight away you're looking, whoa, okay. There was another time with Mick where we used to have to do this contrast bathing and you'd finish training, shower yourself off, you have your slips on, in and hot bath, cold bath, blah, blah, blah. Then everyone get in the shower and everyone just leave their pants in the shower. Maybe a week, 10 days. Today, the kit man, God rest his soul. We got no pants. Go see the gaffer. Like, what do you mean? And we walk in and it's like, it's too right you got no pants. Let me tell you. They're always in the club. Do you know what I mean? And he's telling you, you can turn your kit the right way round, because if he's got to do 40, 50 kits to turn the right way round, that takes him a long time. You all do it yourself. Your pants aren't left in the shower, they go in the wash. Who should be picking up pants out of a shower? And everything goes in the washing basket. The plates have to be scraped, your knives and forks and this and this and this has to be put in the thing. And if everyone does their little bits, and by the way, he did it, the manager of the club. And this is what I was trying to say, these bits of culture that you create. And I know Rob will be very, very humble around the place, still have an aura, don't take his niceness for a weakness or that. But that's what I'm saying. You've got certain managers like Mick, like Rob, who create that culture, feel very proud to play for Wolves. And that's what I think Wolves is built on. The club I've always been around is about people who want to be there, want to play for it and realise what it's about. And I think that's the personnel that you need to bring in and the culture you need to create.
Great stuff. This is the latest Wolves Report Live with Matt Murray, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. That sort of funnels nicely into the next part, Matt. Rob always looks like someone that's smiling and happy and positive, and I'm really glad you talked about that, because it looks planned, but it's not. But behind that, does he have a more ruthless side that he can use when necessary? Because I mean, we joked about it. He's a beautiful man. He's a popular guy. Has he got that mean streak behind him as well when necessary?
Yeah, in his own way, and that's the thing. As I say, don't take your niceness for a weakness. Like, have I seen Rob get really angry? Actually, no. In the things, when we go out on the way, we do stuff. Obviously, I've been nights out, stag do's, everything with him. He's not that guy. But what I would say is that he will make big decisions. So whether it's leaving players out, letting them go, the fact that he left Middlesbrough to come to Wolves, the fact that his coaching staff has evolved. So that's another thing. If you change your coaching staff, that's not always big, easy decisions. They're tough conversations sometimes. But he's not the people he started with Luton and where he is. Sorry, Forest Green to where he's now. They're different. Still great people, great coaches doing their thing. And again, you'd have to see why he's made those changes. Sometimes people have gone into other jobs or whatever. But yeah, and I know that there's been players that who he feels aren't, if you like, aren't on the bus, aren't on the journey. They're not going the destination he wants, and he's got his way of getting rid of them and pulling them
We
in.
saw that
And
in January, I think. So yeah.
yeah, do you know what I mean? So, and look, and there's sometimes business decisions, there's this, there's that, but he's a really, really good person. He'll always see the best in people. But yeah, 100%. If he doesn't feel people are right or whatever, he's got his way of doing it, but he's not. And he will have a little shout up. I know he will in the dressing room. I've not been managed by him and I've not been in his coaching staff to see that, but I've heard about it. And I think it's one of them. So my dad didn't really shout. The odd time he did, or that look sometimes that you disappointed him, that was enough. And it's one of them when you've got a manager, I'll go back to Mick, you never wanted to let Mick down because he was such an amazing person. You didn't want to disappoint him. And when you did, and he was mad, because it wasn't just, you know, when someone shouts all the time and swears all the time, it loses an effect. Whereas when it's few and far between, and you think, oh, really done it here. So yeah, Rob's got the edge. He don't manage for as many games as he has. He's already had 2 promotions, you know, competing in the Premier League with Luton really well. Yeah, don't worry about it. He's certainly not too nice, but is he a really good human being? Yes, he is.
I think the days of having to scream at players, though, they're kind of gone, haven't they? I mean, you want a manager who leads by example, and we saw him after the Villa game, and he's on the pitch and he's high-fiving the stewards. You know, other managers don't do that. And when you talk about big decisions, Matthias Mane, we were screaming for him to come into the team for months and no one would do it. Edwards comes in, bang, he sticks him in the team, and look at the impact he's made. He brings on a Dozy when we're losing to Liverpool, and Wallaby scores a goal. So there's different ways of managing. I think managers you work, good managers that you work with in any kind of field, whatever you do, you want a manager that you'll run through brick walls for, a manager that you feel is going to back you, a manager who's got you on side because they lead by example. And that's the kind of manager I see from Rob Edwards, is the way that he approaches the media, the way that he talks to people, the way he wants to engage with everybody, the way that we score those last minute goals and he's pretty much in the South Bank. That's what I want to see from a manager. I don't want a manager who's screaming at everybody and trying to terrify the life out of people. I want a manager that I'm going to run through brick walls because this guy's going to back me in everything I do. And that's what I'm kind of seeing from him at the moment. And for me, that's reflected in the turnaround that we've seen in form and the points.
Yeah, and he's found what motivates those players. Whether it's trying to get to a World Cup, whether it's trying to say, look, I am a Premier League player, so if Wolves don't quite stay up, come and buy me, you know, or Gaffer, keep me for next season, I can take you back up. But he's dealing with multimillionaires now. And also the way we parent, you know, and where these young kids are coached. Like, you know, I used to get a smack when I was a kid. I used to be grounded. I used to do all these things. I've never smacked my children in my life. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not, I love my parents to bits, but it's not how you go now. And, you know, like, if when I was a kid growing up as well, I would be more worried about, I won't go home and say I was in trouble and this teacher did this and that, because I've been worried about what's going to happen to me at home. Where now people go up and they question the teachers, they question coaches in academies, all these different things. So you have to manage, you have to evolve or you become extinct. And the way it is now with all these different cultures, multimillionaires, all these things, as you say, very, very rarely does the shouting and the screaming get you in there. And I think those sort of managers have a glass ceiling. They can only get to a certain level with the League One, League Two, maybe where the players aren't earning as much. So you can turn over the squads. You got lads on 4 or 5 year deals of millions and millions of pounds. So totally agree. And also those brave decisions, like you say, Noki, if you're good enough, you're old enough. But also, if you know Wolves, Wolves love a young kid coming through. They love a Robbie Keane, you know? They love a Jolien Lescott. They can see one of their own coming through. You know, there's so many that have come through over the years, and that's Rob's background. And he saw Mane.
I reckon his phone's ringing, Knocker. He did say, didn't we? He's in mid-flow. I reckon his
We've run out of
phone,
money. That's what it is. We can only have him for 28 minutes.
My PayPal's gone down and we've lost him. But honestly, that's what a great first half hour. I think he's probably on a call. He did say this may happen. This is the beauty of doing things live, and sometimes this is the way it goes. But I'm sure he'll be back shortly.
But he's made some really important points, hasn't he, about the way that the culture of the club needs to be. I mean, he talks about still seeing some of the old faces, and let's face it, in most line of work, you work with people, you finish working with them, and then you don't really speak to them again. Well, I don't. So to have that kind of culture where they're together and they're seeing each other, they're going on holiday, they're meeting regularly, that shows what was built when we were coming back up for the leagues.
Hello?
There you go, Matt. All good. Was it a call, pal?
Hello?
We got you, Matt. You still there? Or anyway, what you saying, Knocker? About the
I
culture?
can't hear you, mate.
I can still.
No wonder he's a goalkeeper. Look at the size of his hands.
How do I get back in?
Right. So, Knocky, just tell us about that culture thing in while I WhatsApp him.
I just think it's important when you've got a club that's toxic the way that we were. When you look at when we went from the Premier League to the Championship and then we went from the Championship down to League One, that never should have happened. We had enough quality in that squad to get out of it. But we had what we called the bomb squad, didn't we? We had players who didn't want to be there, players who weren't playing for the shirt. And you can just create that culture. It's not just about having good players. It's about having players who want to be here and want to represent the club. And when you've got that, you've got half a chance, haven't you? And I think that's why the culture is so important. When, as Matt rightly said, the players are meeting up regularly, they're doing things together. It feels like we're building that again now. And I don't think you can be successful unless you've got that at the club.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Matt.
So I said to you, you said just cut it off and I'll come back on. I could see you, but I couldn't hear anything. So
That's okay, man. This is one of this. Unfortunately, we always do it live because I think we get a more like real version of having a proper chat. But unfortunately, technology plays up sometimes, and this has happened to Nocky before, and he's disappeared. I'm just stood here talking to by myself anyway. Welcome back anyway. It's a nice little half-time break. It was quite a tough start for Rob, Matt, at the beginning, and I mean, we spoke. I think. The Palace game was his first game, and we had a chat, I think, before or after the game. What are the main differences with Wolves from when we spoke that day to now?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was James Collins, wasn't it? He'd taken over a few interim games, and he set the team up to try and be quite defensive. I felt Rob had tried to shore it up a little bit, give them platform. I remember I was in the South Bank, and that shot that was deflected, and Henderson blocked it with his leg or whatever. I think that goes in. Maybe we go and get something, but once we go behind, we never looked like getting back into it. Yet against Arsenal, Brentford, there are two games straight off the top of my head where even though we'd gone behind, I felt there was that belief and there was that way that we were going to get back into the game. And I felt that the lads looked damaged, they looked hurt, they looked fragile. Whereas I think now Rob has put a belief into them. And again, you talked about him being too nice sometimes. I think he challenges people in the right way. So when he was manager of Middlesbrough and the Middlesbrough fans were applauding Morgan Whittaker going off, he sort of said, no, that he's one of ours. I don't think that's right. Don't do that. So he's challenged the fans, which I think is brave. You just come in a club and you do it. Whittaker's flying for them now. There was times at Wolves where sometimes the fans were a bit disappointed with everything that's gone on, and rightly so, and he sees that. But I know he's gone and spoken to players in the right way. And I think now you're seeing, one, the fans with the, right with everybody. And as I said before, they had every right to be hurt with the team, some of the stuff they're watching. But I think the likes of Chachua are playing better. I think you say bringing young Mane in and all those things. So I think there's players that are playing to their strength with a belief. We look defensively much better. I think Sar's getting back to the levels that he was before. They're big moments. So yeah, I think there's quite a lot of things, but I think we're running more. And like I thought the West Ham game were brilliant. Looked like without the ball we had the control. With the ball we looked like a threat. So yeah, so many things, but I just think the biggest thing is that there's a more resilience and belief that if we do go behind, we can get back in this. We're not out of it.
The one thing that I thought is the biggest change, and I don't know how much you could say about this or not, but the difference in fitness. I think John Percy mentioned this in an article. The difference in mobility and fitness from when we spoke at the Palace game to now, when Wolves are finishing games stronger, and whether it's bravery, whether it's confidence, they just look a fitter squad now, Matt.
Yeah, because like Rob said, to get points in the Premier League, you have to work hard. So I remember when he came up with Luton, he was like, wow. The sprinting, the high intensity, these athletes are superhuman. He played at Arsenal in a behind closed doors game. He said it was just ridiculous because they're not only technically good and tactically good, they could run. So you have to be able to run in the Premier League. So, but that comes, you have to train at a rhythm. So you credit the medical staff because we've got near enough full availability, full that you can pick from the team. So that's big. You have to do it in training. You have to get the buy-in, get the belief, get the motivation, and all those different things. And that allows you to run. And then you can get those other bits. But when you're a team that, I think some of the recruitment, I'll be honest, in the summer was poor. I do. I don't think there were players that were of the level and of the standard. And and everyone's talked about it, Cunha, Semedo, Aitnouri, all of those going, and we didn't have the succession plan of players coming in. We weren't of the same level, and I think the league is stronger this year with the likes of Leeds and Sunderland, for example. So all those different bits. So if you're losing the magic, like if you like, from an Aitnouri or Cunha, you need to at least outwork teams. And I think Rob's done really, really well with that in the training with the medical staff, with the likes of Harry and Trolls that have come in with him. I think Danny Alcock's done a great job with Saar, the goalkeeper coach. Danny Alcock is. So I think everybody's doing their thing. But yeah, we are running more. But when you're playing well, it does feel easier to run and to do that bit. And it sounds mad.
We just look more energized. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's again, like you say, when you've won a few games, it looks like it and it feels like it. And I guess your body's, and if you're happier and things are going well, it looks like that. But they just look sharper.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, really. The season probably wasn't 5 or 10 games longer, and then Wolves may be in with a shout of it. But
West Ham lost today.
yeah, I mean, we've got to play them as well. But
right in it still. Say again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to have that conversation. I think we need 2 or 3 wins on the bounce, and then I just, because it's always it's heartbreaking football. But you know what? I'm enjoying watching Wolves again, and that's for something. It was miserable. And Nokia, we talked on this podcast for half a season with no wins. We're getting battered, and it's like it has been utterly trash. It doesn't feel like that now. And you say that's Nokia now. Wolves are more enjoyable now. You feel like you've got your team, and they're playing for you again. Granted, Nokia, this is probably a squad that probably should be fighting relegation, but it shouldn't be a team that's bottom. So Rob's come in and it has improved. But as I was saying, I feel like I'm enjoying watching Wolves again more than I was.
But I think when Rob came in, and you always want that new manager bounce, don't you? But there was so much damage done to that squad. There was so much mental damage doing to them as well. Because you must get, as a player, if you keep getting beat every week and you're losing to the promoted teams, you must almost start thinking, I'm not good enough to be in this league. And it took him a long time to really put his stamp on things. But you have to remember, he come in November and we're on 2 points. And to have a turnaround from there to where we are now, and to see players like the individual incremental improvements you've seen from Rodrigo Gomez, he's recognised that he's more impactful coming from the bench, same as Tolu. He's brought in Adam Armstrong, that I think is an absolutely phenomenal signing. I think he's been brilliant for us since he came in, and he sets us up for next season. And he's got some Mosquera, he's got Krejci, he's just got players who just seem to have a little bit more belief now. But you can't do that overnight when you're in the situation we're in. If he'd have walked in when we were maybe 7th or 8th from bottom, the confidence is there a little bit and you've got something to work with. But walking into the team when they're in the situation they're in and the media's laughing at them or the supporters are laughing at them, you've got to build the foundations. And the first thing he needed to do is to make us difficult to beat and stop them soft goals from flying in, that soft underbelly we had. We did that. We started running more. We started working more. And I think he put people in the right positions. He just made it stupid simple. Get back to basics. Do what you know works. If you know that you can play there, play there. Jose Sarr, we know, isn't great with his feet all the time. So sometimes don't try and play out, just wallop it of field. Just do them little basics, and we're reaping the rewards for it now. And I think the important thing is if we can take some momentum into next season, even if we are relegated, if you've got that momentum, you've got the fans back, you've got the belief, and it gives you something to build towards next year.
Yeah,
great stuff. We are sorry, Matt.
I was going to say I totally agree, because that Fulham game, Gomez and Andre didn't start. Remember, they didn't start, and the fans are desperate for them. So things like that have been massive. But Tolu looks now like he plays his size. Those sort of things. Exactly agree, Noki. Totally agree. So, but I think the manager's played a big part in that.
Absolutely. We've got 20 minutes left and so much still to talk about. So I'm going to try and squeeze as much as I can in. I've got one concern, Matt, and that's the summer recruitment. Now, I've been open about this, and I've said this on multiple podcasts to Noki and Tyler previously. Is this going to be a Wolves, Matt Jackson and Rob Edwards led window, or will it be a Gestifute led window? If it's going to be Rob Edwards next season, which I think he's earning the right to, more than earning the right to now, I think he needs his players. Now, obviously, he had a relationship with Angel Gomez. Adam Armstrong's a fantastic signing. It needs to be more like that. And Wolves, in recent years, have gone down the guest defeat path. Now, we've had our bonuses from that because I've had some fantastic players come from there. I just worry that they'll go down like a Fer Lopez route again when they really can't, because they've got to remember, I know we did it once before really well, but the Championship is so difficult. And for me, for Rob to fully succeed next season, he needs the full backing of the club, his players, via Matt Jackson and him going into there. And that's the only little bit of a grey area I've got.
Look, recruitment's massive. Every manager will tell you that the recruitment's huge. I think we always have to say that Folsom have given us some amazing times. So we can never ever look away from that. You talked about it there. That first season, well, the first season I think was on the Nuno, when Neves, Jota, God rest his soul. The players coming in. Willy Bolly was that window, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
fantastic. And then Barry Douglas, these sort of players coming in was amazing. I've been involved with Wolves since the age of 9. The time and the Nuno is the best Wolves football I have seen. FA Cup semi-finals, Europe, winning the Championship, the drama at Cardiff away, Bristol City, Middlesbrough. Some of those ones where you're just like, wow, you couldn't write this. Was it that season when Neves scored the volley against Derby?
Yeah.
That was it's just incredible. It's just incredible season.
That was the best goal I've seen live at Molineux. Fact. It was amazing.
I think you've seen one better than that, Matt. You're not telling the truth there.
Oh, sorry. Your hat trick.
Thank you.
Was the best hat trick I've seen at Molineux, because you won for us. Okay.
Thanks, Gaffer.
We managed to shoehorn it in. Hey, we won, and I like winning, and you were the difference, big dog. So I'll give you that.
Rob Edwards was left back, you were the manager, and I was up front, and I touched the ball 4 times and 3 times winning. We'll take it though, mate.
Take those stats. But you were the second best looking on the day after Rob Edwards.
It's not in question, mate. Not third best. Not in question.
But going back to the recruitment,
yeah,
they've some amazing recruitment's gone on. But what I felt that the model before was always, once Jota went to Liverpool, we had players coming through. When Neto went to Chelsea, do you know what I mean? That's what it was. When Johnny Otto was there, we had Aït-Nouri coming through. That felt like the model. As I say, we had some brilliant windows. But it just felt that this was coming. I thought the last few years we weren't quite as strong. The newly promoted teams weren't as strong, so we got away with it. And I feel there will be a lot of learning, a lot of reflection. But I think the window's going to be a bit of both. I imagine there'll be players that, Rob will push for. That's what managers do. And there'll be ones that are presented to him and this and that. And it also, though, what players will be leaving. There's so much to go on. But but I think already, I know how lots of football clubs work, not only Wolves. You've got to build lists for both. Right, if we're in the Championship, what's the list? If we're in the Premier League, what's the list? And let's start looking at it. Because we still, at the moment, can stay in the Premier League. But I'd like to see some of the work. This is just, again, as a fan, nothing more, take my Rob being my mate or anything else. I'd like to see some of the work done earlier. I thought Cunha went early, Semedo went early, Aït-Nouri went early. But I just felt like it was still a rush for us towards the end of the window. I'd like to see some
poor planning, panicked, wasn't it? So yeah,
I think there's been a few windows like that, though, Ryan. I think there's been a few windows like that.
I think because my opinion is Jeff Shee thought he knew better than George Mendes, and the last few years, other than bits and bobs, he tried to do things about his own way, and we were pre-planning. We talked about the players that we had, like Jota, Neto was coming through, Johnny Otto was there, as you said, Aït-Nouri was coming through. There was a player that would have a year behind in the squad, subs, cup games. That's not been there, and I hope they've learned the lessons. I'm going to keep flying through because I've got 15 minutes left, and there's so much I want to ask you still. Next season, Rob has his pre-season. He gets the players he wants. What does Rob Edwards' ball look like next season?
I think it will be a lot of control. I think we'll dominate the ball. I don't think we'll play from the back, not at the back. So there will be, some good build-up, but no problem getting the ball forward quickly when we need to. Like what you saw in Middlesbrough, going and getting up there, going press teams, good from set pieces, but a team playing with real passion. I think it'll be exciting. And I'm excited to see a Rob Edwards team, because I believe Wolves will be strong. And I want to see Rob with a team that Luton were underdogs. Middlesbrough, you'd say, were up there, but they didn't finish in the playoffs the year before. But I think I want to see my mate manage with expectation levels of there's a Wolves fans will expect, if the window goes well, Wolves fans will expect to be pushing for automatic promotion. Let's not look any different from that. So, and I hope he can deliver, because one, it's Wolves, but two, obviously I've got nothing but love for him.
And I mean, again, it's like we've rehearsed this and we haven't. The next question is, the club and supporters are expecting top two next season. So with that in mind, how will Rob cope with that kind of pressure when the expectation is there, say from everybody really, that Wolves really should be a top two team next season?
It's a privilege. So he joined a Wolves team that, when he was a player, that had only just got relegated to the Championship, and obviously then was pushing for promotion. As a player, he's been promoted with Wolves, he's been promoted with Blackpool, he's been promoted in Norwich. So he knows what it's like to be part of a promotion-winning team as a player. He's been promoted as a manager. So that pressure is nothing new to him. It's nothing new to him. And I when the Lionesses said it, when they had the Euros in England, and they were, everyone wanted them to win, it as that pressure. It's a privilege. It is what comes with being a manager of a massive, massive club like Wolverhampton Wanderers. So Wolves are a big club. In the Premier League, they're a big club. In the Championship, they're a massive club. And they will be everybody's cup final. So as players, as managers, as everyone, if you're not up for that, then don't come to Wolves. You have to relish that. There's going to be a few little wobbles maybe here and there. But no, what I will tell you, he was the best he could ever be as a player, and he'll be the best he can be as a manager. So that's why he's at West Ham today, watching that. That's why when you ring him sometimes, you got a day off, can you come for a coffee? Oh, big man, I'm on the laptop, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He works so hard. So if it doesn't work, it won't be through lack of effort, through being the best he can be. But the pressure, nah, man, that's fine. That's nothing. That's cool.
This is the Wolves Report Live with Matt Murray, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. We have to cut a few of the questions off because I haven't got enough time to reminisce, and we really need to reminisce. Matt Murray joined Wolves in the 90s, played for the youth team, under 18s, had loads at Kingstonian, Tranmere, Slough, Hereford, played at international level, under 17, 5 caps for the under 21s for England, and of course for Wolverhampton Wanderers, winning the playoffs in 2003, as well as being named Wolves Young Player of the Season. Also then in 2006, 2007, was named Wolves Player of the Season, as well as winning the Golden Glove for the Championship that year. So, Matt, it's time to reminisce. Now, everyone's talking about Cardiff 2003. What I don't think gets talked about enough was the game before away at Reading. Now, Reading were an absolute force that season, and we went into that playoff as an underdog against them, and Reading were good. Now, May the 14th, 2003, Reading 0, Wolves 1. Alex Ray in front of that away end. But Matt, I mean, people talk about your saves at Cardiff. That performance at Reading that night, I thought Wolves were absolutely peppered, but there was no way through.
I think, do you know what? Both legs were the most nervous I think that I've been. I was more nervous for the semi-final games than the final. It was mad. Because I'd been at Wolves since the age of 9. Gone to the games when we lost to Palace, we lost to Bolton. Remember when Peter Shilton played well? Palace when
Norwich,
Dougie Freedman, yeah. Then obviously the year before with Norwich when I've been on the bench all season but not played. So it was like, we never make the final sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? We've got to do this. And the feeling at Molineux, and I wasn't happy with the first goal we conceded, but then when Nails and Newt scored, it was class. And then we went there, and again, it was a bit of a funny build-up. Was the kickoff going to be delayed, this or that? And it's a mad, intense night games. I loved them, but it was a mad feeling, and all our fans were there. It was only a 1-goal lead, and yeah, I was really nervous. I didn't start off that well because a routine ball that I should have held, and it came off, and Lee Naylor's cleared it for me. My hands felt hard, and then I don't know. Pete Bonetti, God rest his soul, was like a goalie coach of mine at Wolves, and he taught me about doing breathing to relax yourself and calm. And then, yeah, I felt I made a few saves. I think there was one down low in my right in the second half, and no one's ever mentioned that to me before. But now you've said it, I can actually remember that now. Big right hand. But it was tense. I know the fans behind, and then when Alex Ray scored that goal, we talked about it off air. For me, it was relief, but it looked like Wolves fans just lost themselves, man. Just lost themselves. And Big Al ran to the corner and he was caning. Look, and me and Noki could talk about there was a ball guy, and that's why he's slapping his head, because there's the big ball guy who'd been battering Incy in the warm up, and Incy was like, "Oi, if we score, he gets it, all right?" And then when Alex Ray scored, Incy's like, "Where is he? Where is he?" And that's the Gollison geezer who's going crazy. But like, it was mad, and obviously I could see all you guys at the other end going mad. And when you're in goal at the other end, and that obviously that gave us a 2-goal lead. It was quite late on. It felt like
82 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. Then you just hear, boom, 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 boom. And what do you lot sing? Is it a fire drill? You just hear all the seats going up behind you, and it's gone from feeling like pure intense behind you to like everyone's gone now. So it's cool and just chilled. So yeah, I enjoyed that leg. And then for the final, I was actually quite relaxed. But the semi-finals, yeah, they were nerve-wracking, man.
Yeah, I was in the home end for the away game. I was commentating for a blind friend of mine, Chris, that sort of listens into this show. And I mean, I was not impartial with my commentary that night. And honestly, when Alex Ray scored, I'm like, I don't know how we got away with that. I mean, it was in a neutral zone for like when there was partially sighted and blind people. But commentating on that, my voice then, it was like a reverse puberty. It was high pitch, squeaking about Alex Ray. It was just absolutely incredible. It was just... I don't think, because of what happened at Cardiff, I don't think that game's talked about enough, because Reading were really good. They were intense, and then they will probably feel a bit aggrieved that they didn't go through, but we really dug in. And obviously you mentioned Nail's free kick, that was great, and Newton scored. But yeah.
It's mad how you said we were underdogs though, Ryan. Like, I felt that our team on our day...
Because we made a run into it, didn't we? Because Reading were up there all season, and we made it like... I mean, I suppose we had momentum.
We had momentum. When we missed out the year before, we'd been in the top 2 for a long time. Those like down the road pips, it was a different mentality, where this time we knew we were never going to go automatic, but we just had that feel. We qualified with a game or 2 to go, so a couple of lads could rest. Other ones, we got given a choice. I said I wanted to keep playing because I wanted to keep my match sharpness up. Nearly got sent off at Sheffield away in the league game. It was 3-3. I did get a touch on the ball, so good refereeing. But I just felt that on our day, Dennis Irwin, Paul Lynch, Jolien Lescott, Lee Naylor, Alex Ray, Kenny Miller, honestly, mate, Studger coming off the bench, honestly, I just felt that on our day, we had as good a team as anyone in the league. That was my opinion.
Yeah, I think as a fan, I felt like we were the underdogs purely because I was at Bolton, I was at Crystal Palace, I was at Norwich. We were always the bridesmaid. We never quite got there. And being in that away end when that ball hit the net, it was the only goal that's ever come close to that was the Villa game when we were 2-0 down and we come back. There was bodies jumping on you. It was chaos. It was absolutely fantastic. It's similar to Villa. I had to take a pregnancy test afterwards. The amount of people that had jumped on me. It was just an incredible feeling. And it is just this uplift of emotion, because I think you knew at that point, we were going to win the game. And you don't always have that feeling with your club. But as soon as that one hit the back of the net, you saw the mass exodus, you heard the noise from our end, you saw our players and they were 10 feet tall. It was utterly incredible. He's probably still my favourite away game because of that release of emotion that finally we've done it. It was an incredible feeling.
Right, we've got 5 minutes left. We probably need to talk about Cardiff. It's flying by. So May the 26th, 2003, Wolves 3, Sheffield United 0. Now, I don't know what happened to me. I was in absolute bits at halftime. I couldn't believe this was actually happening. I'd had probably too many beers. I was with my dad. We're 3-0 up. I'm like, this is going to happen, isn't it? And then they get a penalty. So I don't know if you've ever heard this, but Michael Brown, have you heard what he said about your penalty? This is brilliant. So Michael Brown, on your penalty save, he said, we got a penalty and I'd scored all 6 that season. Matt Murray's in goal and he's deliberately stands and shows me where I've been taking the penalties all season. I'm looking and thinking, oh no, what am I going to do here? And then he saves the penalty.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I did, because he'd scored one past me earlier that season. As you say, every single one had gone the same way. Obviously, back in the day, used to have, now they write everything on water bottles and this and that, but Noki talked about Reading. I felt Sheffield United were a good team as well. And they'd been in the semi-final of the League Cup, semi-final of the FA Cup, now in the final against us. Warnock had amazing playoff history. So yeah, it was one of them. Well, at half time, Jolien Lescott and Lee Naylor going, we're up. And then you got the experienced ones going, calm down, chill. And that's where we looked around. You had Ince, you had Dennis, you had Paul Butler, Dave Jones, I mean, all these Blakey just keeping us young pups cool. I was quite an intense person anyway, just concentrating. I didn't realise that Warnock had been sent off at half time. It all kicked off. But then I still think it's the softest penalty ever.
It's not a penalty.
It's never a penalty. I'm glad it was given, but it's never a penalty. And
I didn't feel like that at the time, Matt.
Yeah, nor did I. But we practiced that. We thought that this final could go to penalties, and if it was, we thought Michael Brown would take the first one. So if he did, I would stand at 6 yards, make him look at me. I'd stand big, spread my arms. So from 6 yards to 6 yards, even you, Ryan, who's lethal from the spot, would be thinking, okay, he looks quite big. So then I step back. I know he wants to go to my left. And by the way, I was there and I've been practicing with Dean Sturridge and everyone, and Sparky and Ince would all have taken one if we'd have gone to penalties. And I'd done that thing about showing him my left, and Mimsy was going, showing that. But while I was stood there, I was thinking, he ain't going for that. I'm going to go right. Then I thought, no, Mimsy's going to kill me. So I thought, I've got to go left. And then there it was. Nice height. And then I got to smash nails on the rebound, so it was even better. And it probably should be another penalty.
I thought that was another penalty. I watched that still. That was more of a penalty than the original one because you cleaned him.
Oh, Steve. Well, that was Steve Cabba. Yeah. So Cabs and nails. But yeah, Cabba, I felt that was a penalty, but they didn't say anything. He got his shot off. And that would have been interesting, wouldn't it, if he'd have given another penalty? And by the way, if it had been now, I wouldn't have counted either because I was just a little bit off my line.
Oh, all the exclusives tonight, mate. People aren't recovering on the comments from Nocky's pregnancy test. I mean, I've tried not to. People aren't covering that. Brilliant stuff. We've got 3 minutes left of the latest.
Can I just say that on that performance side, I don't think that was even your best save in that game. There was two that stand out to me. The one was the free kick from Michael Tong when you've tipped it onto the post, and the other one was from Paul Ince when he's got. I think he's just got a little flick on a header and he's flying into that bottom corner. No idea how you've got down to that.
So the one onto the post, I'll be honest, if that had gone in, it would have been shocking. Everyone looked at me. If that had gone in, Mimsy would have killed me. 2 hands trying to make a camera save. But the one off Ince, yeah, because I'm coming the wrong way. He heads it. And Ince, I always remember he was chilling afterwards on the bed. He's having a cigar or a cigarette, can of beer, getting a massage. All his young pups are going crazy. He's always big man. So I said, so happy you saved that. I never scored an own goal in my career and I didn't want to start today. So love that. So that was funny. But Ince was good in that final, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was. You couldn't have written a dreamier script for Wolves fans to be 3-0. You've suffered Norwich and Palace and Bolton, and as Nocky said, it's just we don't experience that. We'd lost to Arsenal in an FA Cup semi-final at Villa Park.
Yeah.
We'd lost to Villa to a quarter-final in the League Cup. It'd been pain after pain after pain. So to be on the day that you're waiting for, to be 3-0 up at half time, it was just like this. I was just an emotional mess. I was like, this isn't happening. We're almost at the end of the show. The last thing I want to ask you to do, someone's asked, we do a little prediction thing, Matt, and someone's asked you to get the prediction bongos. So after I've given you the prediction bongos, I need you to tell me where Wolves are going to finish next season and who the top scorer is going to be. No pressure.
So where Wolves will finish next season, what, top of the Championship? Well, it's a good job. I don't know what squad's going to be there, so I'm going to have to say Adam Armstrong, aren't I?
That'll do. Matt, this has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you for giving up your Sunday evening to come on the latest Wolves Report live with Nocky and myself, Ryan Lester. This has been absolutely brilliant. Next season, you can come on again after Wolves have won the Championship. Can we shake on that as a deal?
Well, I get Rob next to me, yeah?
Man, now we're talking. Win the Championship, yeah? Let's do it.
Wait, let's stay in the Premier League. That would be even better, eh? Wow.
So if Rob stays in the Premier League and we get promoted next season, duo on the podcast next year. Shake on that now, Rob. Matt.
I can shake on it for me, but I can't say that for my handsome friend. But let's see.
Yeah, no problem at all. Nocky, as always, brilliant. Matt, thank you for coming on the Wolves Report.
Thank you.
We're only collecting Matts at the moment. We've got Matt Jarvis coming up in the next few weeks as well. That's going to be good. And we're going to talk about then Wolves' fantastic win away at the Olympic Stadium where Wolves beat West Ham, hopefully, up the Wolves.